Do I?
I used to play soccer.
I live at home.
I have a problem with talking loud. I talk too much. I like the color blue.
Alright.
Yeah.
Alright, can I get 5 volunteers? Just come on up. About 6. 6 usually want to. Alright, so basically this is to show how different people think. So I want you to take Tamir and look at yourself and see what other people think. Say one word, how other people see you. Just like one word.
What do you see? How would you describe the thing in the mirror? Not the thing, the person in the mirror. Not the thing. I promise.
Alright.
Okay, next.
I'm beautiful.
Drop dead gorgeous.
Awesome. Alright. So basically, it doesn't matter how people see us. It matters how God sees us.
Sweaters over.
Oh.
Don't sit on the glass.
That was awesome. I wish. Did you get a picture of him smashed? That would have been awesome. It totally right over your head.
It doesn't matter how other people see you. It matters how God sees you. And this talk is who am I? And often we wear masks to cover up like who we really are, like so how other people see us and not how God sees us. So like when we think of the question who am I, we don't think like how God can see us or how we want God to see us. It's how other people see us. And you generally think of your name, occupation, state of education, any sports you do. Like I'm Sam I am. I'm applying to Johnny Mac's Sport Goods Store. I am a sophomore at SLU, and I run cross country. But keeping this in mind, like, what about the inside? What about our identity? Often we hear what some people would call masks. Now, there's a and I'm talking Halloween masks like these.
Good thing you're not.
Like these. So forget that. And think about like how we change ourselves. For instance, like dictionary.com says that masks are covering for all or part of the face or to conceal one's identity. Wikipedia tells us that a mask is something usually worn on a face, used for protection, disguise, performance, or entertainment. But the rig team tells us that masks can be false identities for our true self. Often we wear masks because of peer pressure and the fear of fitting in with people we don't know. For me, I wore masks going into high school after 8th grade year. Like, I only knew 2 of my grade school friends who went with me, and a couple of people I met at a summer cross country camp. So I was kind of scared the first few days, and didn't really want to talk to people, and avoided how people went and talked to me. So like I just kind of put on a mask, like that wasn't really me. It was kind of like the shy guy that didn't want to do anything, only did what I actually did, stick to that, and nothing else. No going outside my comfort zone. And then after a few weeks, I started to actually leave my grade school friends, thinking I was too cool for them, and just like not caring about them, just caring about myself, and trying to make friends who didn't necessarily want those guys. And I talked behind their backs about them, make fun of them, like do a bunch of stuff to them when it wasn't right. And then after a while, I noticed they were doing the same thing to me. And so like we got together, we talked, and we kind of all denied it, even though we knew it was true. And so we kept going on about doing that until we realized this is out of hand, we're getting way too far apart. Like I had class with one of my guys, and classes with him and homeroom, and in none of those would I talk to him. I would just sit across the room from him, talk to different people, and just completely forget about him. And luckily, we all decided we were going to do cross country coming into fall, sophomore year, and that really connected us. And in that, we realized like we shouldn't be doing this, so we were able to get out of that
I was like the quiet girl with 2 friends. I did spies at recess, and this was like 5th grade, so it's not like I was like in 2nd grade. I met you as I like went to middle school, which is 6th grade for me because I was a public school kid. What up? I met new people, and I began to like the people that I knew began to change, and suddenly it was like cool to drink, smoke, do things with the opposite sex, and cut. And at this time, I began to like start feeling like I began to see that my father and I didn't have as strong of a relationship as other girls and their fathers, and I started to feel unloved. And if you've ever felt unloved, I am really sorry. It's a horrible feeling, and especially when you're unloved by one of your family members. And I was struggling to find my way because I didn't get approval in the things I did from my father. And yeah, I got approval from my mom, but like, I mean, I wanted double approval because these were the people who brought me in the world. And now, okay, so I grew up Catholic, baptized in the church, all that jazz. But it doesn't mean I participated. I went to church, but I didn't pay attention. I didn't know who God was or what he had to do with me. And everyone, like, my reaction to my problems was because I didn't have anyone to turn to, was I started cutting myself. And after cutting for a few years, I began to realize it wasn't what I wanted for myself. But I didn't know where else to turn, so I turned to drinking. And yeah, I would get drunk every weekend, and I would forget about my problems, but they'd still be there the next day. And they'd probably be worse because I felt like really sick, not good feeling. And I would sit there and wonder, like, where was I going in my life? And I went on this retreat called Steubenville, and you guys will get the chance to go on Steubenville, or be invited to go on Steubenville. And it's a really cool thing. And there was this one night. Raise your hand if you know what adoration is. Woo. Okay, when you adore the body of Christ, get it? Adoration. Ah, funny. I'm so funny.
Job,
and
Jess.
like, they were walking around with the monstrance, and it came by me, and I started uncontrollably crying. Yes, I'm a girl. Girls cry a lot. But this was like weird crying. Like I wasn't upset about anything. I was just crying. And I knew whatever I had been looking for all those years was there, but I didn't know what it was. And after a while, summer came and I forgot about the retreat. And I began to seek attention from the guys in my grade and older, and I would feel loved for like a week, and then they'd drop me. And so when I went back to Steubenville, like basically the same thing happened, only happened like 20 times more. Like I cried 10 times, like I'd be in the middle of the street and I'd just be crying, and I'm not emotionally unstable, I promise. I was just like, there was this weird feeling, like whatever I had been searching for was there. And I knew that God wanted something more for me. He was telling me that whatever was at that retreat was where I was supposed to be. And all of a sudden I felt like I found myself. I was like, I realized that God, he didn't care what I did as long as I lived with him through me. And I let him define me instead of letting the other things that I did define me. And I mean, we could be sitting there thinking, I know who I am. I'm in the right place. I'm all good. But I can almost guarantee that you're going to experience struggles along life that will cause you to lose yourself, especially if you don't let God define you. God calls us to live for him every day and let him live in us. We just have to let him in. Even if you have no idea who you want to be in life, I promise that if you let yourself be a follower of Christ, that he will make you a better person you've ever imagined yourself being. High school can force you to try and define yourself, or you can even be forced right now, but don't let yourself fall into something you never even dreamed of being. You are the best you can be.
All right, well, going off that, this is theology book, sophomore year, theology of the body of teens. And, you know, like, we read it almost every night. And there's one passage that really stuck to me in here. I mean, it's kind of like a dorky Lord of the Rings passage. I mean, I've never seen the movies before, I'll say that, but it really, like, kind of stuck with this theme. It says, so great the command is to be given, to become who you are. In the movie trilogy, Lord of the Rings, the call is given directly to Aragorn in The Return of the King. Aragorn is the heir to the throne of his kingdom, but he has not accepted the responsibility for it. When in the midst of the greatest challenge facing Middle Earth, the Lord Emerald has reforged the sword of the king. Challenge he presents to Aragorn with the words, "Put aside the ranger, become who you were born to be." Just like Aragorn, if we set aside the lies that we have believed about ourselves and embrace the true reality of our life in Christ, we can claim and proclaim with boldness the truth we really are. You know, like, I, going into this year, had a bunch of different teachers for English because my original teacher had gotten sick, and we had gotten a permanent substitute. And so, like, a bunch of the class decided, you know, we were going to take control of him because he doesn't really know how to control us and like, doesn't know how to lead us. And it was almost split like directly down the middle, like the cool kids and like the not cool kids, like the dorks. And I was like trying to decide which side I wanted to go to, and I already had enough homework from all my other subjects. I really didn't want to do any more English homework, so I tried to like, I almost went over to the cool side to try to control our teacher. But that night, I finished all my homework early, and it was great. And I decided, you know, I'm going to do my English homework. And I did, and then like that night I prayed and found that God really wanted me to try to tell our teacher he's what he needs to be. So the next day I switched sides